make sure it's all ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, -1, 0, -2, 5, 3, 2.
Don't do quotients.
Don't do quotients. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Glad
Howdy.
you're here. It is Wednesday.
It
is
is.
8 p.m. Central Standard Time and lots of other times around the world. And so here we are because we're hanging out, talking fish, because it just seems like the thing to do on a Wednesday evening.
Yes.
Don't you agree?
Midweek. Yeah.
Midweek Wednesdays, I just feel like talking fish is a good thing. And so here we are. That's what we're doing. Thank you for being here. Glad you're here. So, yeah, what we've got planned today is pretty much it's all about you. We're going to answer your questions and we're going to talk shop and do all that kind of stuff. I think that's the plan. We don't have a special topic planned today. Maybe we will next week. I don't know. You came up with a good one, but I think it was just a little too late for my brain to register all this stuff. So
it was. And plus I forgot it. I told you I thought of a really good one at like 3 a.m., but I forgot it.
Yeah, and now here we are.
Maybe it'll come back to me.
Maybe, but then again, maybe not. So thank you for being here. First of all, I want to just kind of recognize a couple things here. Tesla Killdozer, thank you so much for this super chat. Nothing special, just something for your channel.
Aww.
Fish fan 20 gallon long. My goodness, thank you very much. That was very surprising. Thank you very much for the super chat. Just ordered 3 Pogostenum stellatus octopus, 5 4-leaf clover, 3 Ludwigia red, 5 micro sword, 2 water wisteria, and 4 Monte Carlo plants for my 20 long, ready to decorate with aquarium soil, natural colored medium gravel with rocks and wood. I'm so excited. Use this money for your Aquashella trip. Well, thank you so much. Really, really, really appreciate it. That is quite unexpected. Thank you. And we will do that. And hopefully we'll get to see a lot of people there because we're looking forward to it. We're really getting excited now that we're, pretty much, 2 weeks? 2 weeks away, right?
Yeah.
So we leave, we'll leave basically. So there won't be a live stream in 2 weeks then, right? Because we will.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because we will have left on Wednesday. So unfortunately, we got this week, we got next week, but in 2 weeks, we won't have the live stream right before Aquashella. So that'll be, that won't be the best thing, but we'll be on our way to Aquashella, hopefully hanging out with a bunch of you. But thank you so much for the super chats. Really appreciate it. So some things that have happened, and Kevin and Lisa, thank you very much for the super chat. Have you successfully kept a betta with a mystery snail?
Yeah.
Yes. We do it all the time. I think that the highest likelihood for success is add the mystery snail first if you can. We do it. We've done it back when you had your little 2.5 gallon tanks, which we've since gotten away from. But when you did that, there was a mystery snail and a betta in every one of those. And I believe we had, you had 10 of those set up?
Yes, I did.
So with 10 of them set up, we had success 10 out of 10 times there. So for us, and I know it's not that way for everybody, but for us, we have had success keeping mystery snails and bettas every single time we've done it. And at this point, I think we've probably kept that combination together over 20 times, maybe 30. And we've had success. But I do recognize that there are people out there who the betta started picking at the mystery snail. But part of what we do is we generally add those two together close to the same time. And that really helps. I think it helps. So try it. There's no guarantees, but we've done it successfully. Oh my gosh, we got some more super chats rolling in here. Darth Lobster, thank you very much for the super chat. Get something nice at Aquashella. Looking to eventually upgrade a 40 breeder to something the same, the same front to back, but at least 4 feet. Can I buy it, or do I need to commission? What is the gallon size approximately? So you're in really good shape here. You want a 4-foot tank that's going to have the same front to back width. Well, guess what? Aquion, I think it's Aquion. They just came out with a 60 breeder. And so the 60 breeder is 4 feet long. And so it's basically the same length and depth as a 40 breeder. So the 75 gallon, I know I'm throwing a lot of numbers out here, but the 75 gallon is 4 feet long. It's 18.5 inches wide. And it's somewhere in the 20s in terms of depth. I think it's like 22, 23, somewhere in there. Well, they came out with a 60 breeder, so they kept the 4 feet and they kept the 18.5 inches, which, by the way, is the same as your 40 breeder, but it's a little shorter. So it might be a happy medium where it's like, by the way, the 40 breeder is actually closer to 50 gallons. So I believe it's actually 47 or 48 gallons. And then you've got the 60 breeder, which I'm assuming is going to be pretty much 60 gallons, given the fact that it's got a shorter height. And then you got the 75 gallons. So check that out, because those are all the hot rage right now. And you can easily double stack those, a little bit easier than a 75 gallon. So that's pretty cool. Anthony, thank you very much for the super chat. It's almost your 5th anniversary on YouTube. Thank you both for all your information. I would be a member, but I don't see the join button. I have actually, believe it or not, I've gone to YouTube and I'm like, why is it that on mobile I don't have a join button there? And I don't know if they misunderstood my question. They're just like, well, they can join via the links in your description. But then I get feedback from people, and maybe you can chime in if you've ever tried it. Anybody here is when they click on the link in the descriptions, which it's not in the description here, I don't think, but unlike one of our regular videos, it just takes you back to Primetime Aquatics homepage. It doesn't actually take you to the memberships page. So it's very frustrating. For those of you who are interested in becoming a member, I did put the link. I pinned a comment at the top. I do that just for convenience. It's got the membership link there in the live stream in the chat. And then also, if you're on a desktop, you can press the join button there, and then that generally works. I'm assuming that's how most people do it. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate the super chat. Let's see here. We got Adolfo. Thank you very much for the super chat. Any advice on getting rid of diatoms, brown algae? Yeah.
Good times.
Brown algae to me is luckily one of the easier types of algae to get rid of. And the reason for that is it's not like real crusty or hard. So it generally even just wipes off relatively easily with your finger or any type of algae scraper, even like the softer ones, which is good. Obviously, if you do that, it's probably just going to come back, and that's been your issue. So what we do when it comes to brown diatom algae, first, I find that to be more of a problem in tanks that are a little bit newer. And then over time, the brown algae tends to fade away and we get more of the green algae. But when it comes to brown algae, there are a couple things. One, obviously, you want to look at your lighting, how intense your lights are, and also how long your lights are on for the course of a day. We tend to split our lights between morning and evening for a total of 9 hours a day. It's 2.5 hours in the morning and 6.5 hours at night. So that's one thing. The second thing is nutrients. And so we try to keep our tanks at around 20 parts per million nitrate or less. And that tends to help control algae. The third thing is putting in organisms, i.e. plants that will compete with the algae. So if you've got something that's relatively fast growing, we've mentioned a lot of the floating plants, even duckweed. I know some of you are like, oh, duckweed, I'd rather just have the brown algae. And I get that. Sometimes I think that too. But even at like the floating plants, Fish Fan 20 Gallon Wong just mentioned some of the plants that she's getting. That's actually going to help, is like the wisteria, very fast growing, water column feeder, water sprite, hornwort, guppy grass. These are all plants that grow relatively fast that are going to compete with the algae. And then, of course, you've got the algae removers, like, depending on your tank, you've got things like mystery snails if it's a smaller community tank. You've got bristlenose plecos that do a pretty good job. In one of my tanks, I just put in it was a whiptail cat that I picked up, and I had one left, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to just throw it in this 20 gallon, and it polished off all the brown algae in that tank in about 4 or 5 days. So otosynchus, if you've got softer water, might help out or will help out. So clown plecos, rubber lip, I always forget to mention those. But,
yeah.
And I've had them before. Somebody mentioned them. I think it was with when we did the top algae eaters. And that video was really just based on the fish that we like to keep. And so I forgot about the rubber lip pleco, but those will actually do a pretty good job too. So that's kind of our all-encompassing approach. I don't think necessarily any one thing is going to work 100% of the time, but when you combine all of those things, it helps. And it helps not just with the brown algae, it helps with all types of algae. Leo209 Aquatics, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for everything that you guys do for the hobby. You two are amazing. So what sponge did you guys use for the Pisces 5 gallon and other advice? Any other advice? What sponge did we use? So basically what we did is we took, I wish I had one with me, but I don't. I just took a sponge filter, just the spongy part of a sponge filter. We've got like a bunch of old ones laying around. Actually, can you grab the one that's up there? There's one on top over there. I don't know if you can just grab the one that's up there. I'll show you. Because it's always,
on here?
Yeah, the one that's, I took off. Hold on a second. It's show and tell time.
Well,
No. There's one, there should be one up on top of the tanks over there, maybe.
Nope.
Okay, maybe not. Maybe.
I can take this one off.
Okay, do that. But just squeeze it out. Now you're going to have a messy tank. But this would be real life, although that's not the one. It would be the other one. It would be the one on the tank over there. But anyway,
Oops.
So, oh, this tank's getting totally messed up.
You,
Okay. Oh, you took the whole intake off. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. Stop. Let go. Okay. So here you have the intake of that filter, which is now probably spewing stuff out everywhere.
Good times.
So you got an intake there. Basically what I did is you can take an intake sponge, by the way, and that's what this was, but it's got a hole on the end. So if you had an intake sponge that you would just go online and buy, as long as this end is closed, these generally just slip right over like this, and then it kind of disperses the water much more slowly. You may, if you do that, and this goes for any, it's not just the Pisces, any all-in-one, you'll notice what we did here. You see this? Maybe you won't be able to see it, but I've cut little lines in here and over here just to increase the flow, because once you put this thing completely over it like this, so again, you got your intake, I place this over, I cut little lines in here because sometimes it restricts the flow too much. The other thing that we did is, so this would be an intake sponge. You just look for like a small intake sponge. I'm dripping water all over my pants, but you really want to have it only open on one end. This one's open on two, and it still kind of slows it down a little, but not as much as I'd like. The other thing that we normally do, because I don't have a lot of these laying around, is we'll take a sponge filter, usually a fine pore sponge filter, and I'll just cut it up into pieces and then basically just pry a hole out like right here. With scissors, I'll pry the hole out, and then I'll make it big enough so I can slide it over, and then I'll start cutting it around just to make sure the flow is okay. So that's what we do with pretty much, and that's what we did with a lot of these. At this point, the tanks that are behind me don't have the returns on the outflow because I got white clouds and I've got some shrimp and they're fine. But the ones over here with the Heteroandra formosa and the rice fish, they don't like that high flow, and they tend to spend a lot of time towards the top of the tank. So that's why these are on there. Okay, I'm dripping water all over myself, and that's awesome.
Well, you're a fish keeper.
Yeah, that's true.
Silly.
So anyway, hopefully that answers your question with a little bit of show and tell. Philip, thank you so much for becoming a primetime partner, primate, prime timer. So yeah, I forgot to get to the actual schedule. I skipped all that, but thank you everybody for the super chats and the members joinings and all that stuff. That's awesome. Thank you. So this week, Monday, we did, so a lot of people asked for what went wrong. What went wrong? Sorry, I'm like losing my train of thought here. The What Went Wrong series. It was a series that we started. Was it last year?
Yeah.
I think it was last year we started it. We did a couple videos, and I think people had fun with it. So basically, the idea behind the videos are we provide real life situations, like things that can go wrong in an aquarium. And we give you some information and we give you a problem, and then it's like, okay, well, what was the issue, right? And so we're going to do more of those just because I find them to be fun. And for some of you who are like, we need to make them harder next time, don't worry. We're not going to make them all hard because I want to make sure that the beginners are also getting some value out of it. But probably out of the 3 scenarios, we'll start throwing in one that's a real doozy. And it's just based on personal experience or based on the questions people have asked in the past. So that was Monday. I made an accidental boo-boo yesterday. You want to share with the class what I did?
Oh, yeah. So he scheduled my Wednesday video for yesterday.
Yeah.
Even I didn't know it was coming out until I saw like some comments just rolling in about Dragonstone. And I was like, oh, that's really timely because my video tomorrow. And then I was thinking, I bet you my tomorrow video just dropped. And yeah.
Yes. I dropped
Tuesday, Wednesday.
I dropped the ball. I dropped the video, and people on the Smallscape who are subscribed to the Smallscape channel, you got a video a day early and nothing today and it was a good video. In fact, it was something I get confused about, and you covered, what did you cover? Tell everybody.
Ultimate Battle, Dragonstone versus Stone.
Yep.
thought it would be fun to lay it out kind of side by side because it's they're both really great rock, but there are some differences that you need to know. There you go.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that when I started going through and looking at aquarium rocks, you would type in Dragonstone and then you'd get these different types of rock. You'd get the stuff that looks gray, you'd get the stuff that looks brown, and people are calling it all kinds of different stuff. And then you throw in words you can't pronounce, like Seiryu stone. The first time I saw Seiryu or Seiryu stone, or I was like, Seiryu stone? I had no idea how to pronounce it.
I know.
And then, so Dragonstone sounded easy, and I didn't even know how to spell Seiryu stone. And then you got Oko stone, you're like, oh my gosh, it gets confusing. So your video, I think, hopefully laid it out pretty well. The one that came out yesterday, that should have been out today. Tomorrow, we'll do the members only video. So we're going to be hanging out in the fish room. Friday, I think I have I think I'm going to release a species profile on Friday, just because it's been a week or two since I've done that, a couple weeks. So we're going to have a cool one coming out. And then Saturday on the small scape, you're going to do some fun stuff. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then we forgot about your Container Joy channel. Tomorrow you've got stuff coming out about plants.
You got it.
Land plants.
Plants.
So you land plants people, just Container Joy. It's the place to be if you're into plants and flowers and planting plants and indoor plants and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, that's true.
Here's my question. I was thinking about this today. All right, so you have aquascaping, scaping in the water. You have landscaping, scaping on the land. Why is gardening called gardening and not gardenscaping?
I don't know.
I just wanted to know.
Maybe there's somebody out there with a tremendous history of landscaping in the garden. Bob, thank you so much for becoming a prime timer, primate, prime time partner. Appreciate you being here. Sarah, thank you for the super chat. At Primetime Aquatics, I'm thinking of starting a 5-gallon nano tank in my kitchen. Do you guys have a favorite nano tank you use? That's a really good question, actually.
That's a great question.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, what's the full name of the one in the kitchen? The bullet? The
Aquatop Pisces,
Pisces
5-gallon bullet. Because the Pisces has two shapes. It's got the cube, or at least two shapes. The cube and the bullet. There might actually be another one now, but so that's a good one. That one's been up and running in the kitchen for at least a couple years.
Yeah,
maybe?
they have the kind of like the landscape one. They also have the portrait one. We have the landscape version, and it is actually one of my favorites, just because it always looks great. It's very easy to maintain. Yeah. It's just I like the lines. I actually like that there's little feet underneath that raise it up, especially if you're going to have it in the kitchen. You very well may be spilling some water, and those feet really help you. You can get a towel under there. It's just really great. And it comes with a nice glass lid. There you go.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, so, I mean, you've got those. We've run the Fluval, right? That was a Fluval 5-gallon, what is that, the Spec? Is that what that is? Fluval Spec 5? I think that's what it is.
So.
I like that one as well. I think it's a little taller, a little more narrow than the Aquatop, so those are both good. These ones back here, the Lifeguard Aquatics ones, they're more of a, for the most part, more of a cube shape. These are 8.3 gallons, although those aren't 5, but I think they have a 6-gallon, and so far those have run really well. So you've got some good options. I think all three of those are good. I do like, I guess I'm sort of kind of partial to the Aquatop shape because I like that added length, and I just like the dimensions probably the most, but you can't go wrong with any of them, at least the ones that we've mentioned. So yeah, thank you. All right, let me see here.
That's fun.
On my multiple screens. So what else is going on? What else is going on is we're going to be, like we already mentioned, Aqua Shell is in a couple weeks, but we've got before that, this Sunday, we're going to be in Joliet, Illinois. So if you're in the area, would love for you to stop by, say hello, check out the swap. It should be fun. I know it's Super Bowl Sunday. Actually, I didn't know that when I signed up for the swap.
Yeah.
So it could be a really awesome day where it's like, think about it. You start out going to a fish swap and getting all these cool fish, and then you finish the day off. If you're into football, great. If you're not, then you still got all your cool fish, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
so everybody else can watch their football game. You're like, I got
Win-win.
cool fish. So we're going to be there. Greenwater Aquarius Society, Joliet, Illinois. It's at the Bird Haven Greenhouse.
Yes.
And it's a cool place.
It's lovely.
Yep. Darth Lobster, thank you very much for the super chat. Well, Joanna, I'm a linguist. and I have studied linguistics for 5 years now, and I can give you a definitive answer.
Like in My
That's a
Fair
good
Lady?
question. No, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm glad. A linguist doesn't know, because that makes me feel a little bit better.
Perfect.
Ray M, thank you very much for the super chat. Are rummy nose tetras hardy? I hear mixed reviews. I've had mixed results with them. So I can say, so here's my opinion. And this is just my opinion. I'm not like an expert rummy nose tetra keeper. It's not like I've been keeping them for hundreds of years. I've had them a few times. One of the things that typically will kind of clue me in as to what fish are doing, and it's not just the rummy nose tetras. You'll see this with cardinal tetras and other types of fish. From time to time, I'll walk into a pet store and you'll see rummy nose tank raised. What that says to me is, oh, by the way, everybody, these were raised in a tank, and therefore they're going to be less likely to die on you. So that's usually why people promote that, right? So if you're a pet store owner and you see those on lists, from your wholesalers, tank raised rummy nose, like, okay, those might very well be a little bit hardier than the wild caught. Maybe that's where you're seeing some of the mixed reviews. For us personally, I've had some that did okay. I've also had them, and I don't want to make a blanket statement that they're always prone to this, but when the times where I've had ick with rummy nose, they were by far, it was the most untreatable ick I've ever had. It was like one minute you're like, oh, can't wait, I've got these rummy nose, this is going to be great. And the rummy nose are like, hey man, do you like my little red face and my stripes and all that? And like 2 days later, or 24 hours later, like, hey man, what's all these white spots? 24 hours after that, like, white spots, not good, all dead. And that was, and the few times that have had that ick outbreak in rummy nose, it was so fast. There was like nothing I could do. I threw in all the good stuff, all the good meds, the ICX. One time I used that, it just didn't work. I've used Copper Safe, and it pretty much, my personal opinion is, Copper Safe is an amazing med. It's not, it's a harsh medication too. So you got to pull out the plants. If you've got plants, you got to be really careful with loaches. You are pretty much going to lose all your inverts because it's copper based. It's great meds, but it's also, you're bringing out the big guns at that point. And I've used Copper Safe on those things, and they all still died. Maybe because I use a Copper Safe, I don't know. But I've used other ick meds, and it just wasn't rolling very good. The 209 Aquatics, thank you for the super chat again. My Pisces been running for 3 weeks, and my Crips are melting. How long does that last? Nitrate's at 5 right now. What can cause it? Diatom algae on it. What do you think? So 3 weeks, Crips melting.
Well,
how long does it last?
That can happen. I don't know if 3 weeks is, so they're melting. They haven't completely melted off by now. I would think within, if they're melting, especially even if I move one crypt from one tank to another frequently, they'll still melt. But I would think, depending on how large the crypt is, that the leaves would have already melted after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
You think?
I don't know. I don't track it as closely. I'm trying to recall if I've ever had a crypt that completely melted on me and I had no leaves left that ever came back. Does that happen?
Yeah.
Okay, because I haven't paid close enough attention. So to answer your question, nitrates in this case, I'm not so sure it's going to matter quite as much, because usually Crips have a pretty decent root system. And so in that case, I'd want to make sure, especially with a newer tank, that they had root tabs somewhere in the vicinity. You don't necessarily have to shove the root tab right by the stem, because the roots are going to branch out. But you do, ideally, you'd probably want a root tab in a 5-gallon tank. I mean, how many root tabs, if you've got it decently planted, how many root tabs? I don't think you'd put more than 3, right?
Yeah, I tend to think about it in a 5-gallon, like the 4 corners. If you have them planted throughout, I just do the 4 corners, no more. Just
okay.
4 max.
So that might be a thing. I don't know if you used root tabs, but they're not gonna respond. Crips aren't gonna respond to like water column fertilizers the way an Anubias would, or wisteria or water sprite, one of those plants that the roots are actually in the water and they're absorbing all their stuff mostly from the water column, where Crips are like, I got this big extensive root system for a reason, and it's going to be mostly substrate. Mm-hmm. All right, let me see here. All right. The whole chat's skipping around. Okay, please
okay.
Go.
All right, Linkman 2022. I have a huge problem. Please help me.
Okay. We'll try.
My nitrites in my baby shrimp tank are through the sky. Right. I have added bacteria and have done 50% water changes. How do I fix?
Nitrites or nitrate?
It says nitrites.
Okay, nitrites high. So you're dealing with the second part of basically what happens when the tank is becoming cycled. You said baby shrimp. You've done 50% water changes, added the Fritz 7 or Turbo Start?
Nothing.
Okay.
Just bacteria. Added bacteria.
Okay. So you're doing a lot of what you should be doing. I mean, you're not going to want to add a ton of salt because it's shrimp, so that's out. You're basically at this point left with a few things. You want to make sure that you continue to do water changes. I know sometimes it's like, man, I keep doing these water changes and it just doesn't seem to help. This spike is only going to last so long. So I'm assuming you've got a filter, maybe probably a sponge filter or something's given you got shrimp in there, and or maybe a small hang on back with an intake sponge so they're not getting sucked up in there. You're adding the beneficial bacteria. Usually the way we recommend it is Fritz 7 is good if you are starting out a tank and it's lightly stocked. Fritz Turbo Start is the go-to if you've already got a pre-existing problem with an ammonia or nitrite spike because that's got more concentrated beneficial bacteria. So you're adding the beneficial bacteria, you're doing the water changes. The only other thing that I would recommend with the shrimp is just watch your feeding. Make sure you're not throwing a bunch of food in there. It's hard, right? Because the shrimp like to graze, and so okay, I throw an algae wafer in there or something, or I throw some what are those snow pops or whatever those things are. Snowflake pop things, a little shrimp food, and that stuff decays, and it's going to make the problem a little worse. The one thing what some people want to do is they immediately want to just kind of bombard their tank full of chemicals that are just going to bind the ammonia or bind the nitrite. And while that can help in the immediate future, long term, it's probably just going to prolong the cycle because you still need to establish those beneficial bacteria. So for right now, it's a three-pronged approach. You're going to continue to do your water changes. Do them daily if you need to. Continue to add the beneficial bacteria, provided that, I don't know if you mentioned the brand or anything, but there are a few brands that work as long as it's live nitrifying bacteria. And as long as it says that on the bottle, most likely it's going to actually help the situation. If it doesn't have live nitrifying bacteria, I've found most of that stuff just doesn't work. It doesn't really have an impact on anything. It doesn't prevent ammonia spikes or nitrite spikes. And then reduce the feeding as best you can, because if you're feeding them, it's just going to create more problems. The other thing to consider as well is the substrate. So if you've got your shrimp on gravel and now that shrimp food is sinking into the gravel, that could be an issue. And so you might, especially if the tank is not planted, you might have to gravel vac around where if you're feeding the food falls, just to try to keep that waste down as well. Nanners Piddlesmith, thank you very much for the super chat. What are your thoughts on keeping balloon mollies with fancy goldfish in a 55? I personally wouldn't do it, and it's mostly because of the temperature differences, I think. The balloon mollies are your typical, for the most part, tropical fish, and they're going to love to be in those, lower end is mid-70s. We'd probably keep ours at somewhere around 77, and the goldfish are going to be like, hey, man, give me that unheated tank, keep me in the upper 60s, and I'm going to be happy. If you get too low on the balloon or on tropical fish in general, all of a sudden they start having digestive issues and stuff. And if you get too warm with the goldfish, that's not good for them either. So I would probably not mix them. That's just kind of, that's me, just because of the temperatures. All right. So what else we got here? Thomas says it's got to be live bacteria almost always. Yeah, I agree. Anthony M. Hello. Can I put 4 Julie Corys and a pair of Episto Panduros in a 20 long heavily planted? Absolutely. Yeah, I think it'd be a cool tank. I had the Epistogramma Panduro in a 20 long. We had them in with, I don't remember. Maybe they were just in a group by themselves. Maybe a Bristlenose was in there. But they'll most likely ignore each other. I should say just be careful if they do start to breed. Then they're not going to appreciate the Julie Corys in their turf. That could potentially be something to consider later on, like, oh man, they're kind of beating them up a little bit. Sometimes they just ignore them. So, yeah, but at least in terms of them getting along, I don't foresee any aggression issues.
Matthew Does Stuff says, I wish you could buy Fritz at Petco or PetSmart.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I hesitated because I'm like, gosh, when was the last time I was at a Petco or PetSmart and you can't find that stuff there? Mm-mm. Well, you just, Flip Aquatics, channel sponsor. They're going to be sponsoring part of our giveaway that we're going to do here in a little bit. They carry it. I know that. So sometimes you just have to get it online and do it that way. But yeah, I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got their contracts with the people that sell them the stuff,
Yeah.
So what else you got over there?
Let's see. Bob D.A. B-O-B-B-D-A. What's the reason for fish having curved spines? Example, Candy Cane Tetra video on the Smallscape channel on December 15th. Is it due to inbreeding or long-term nitrate exposure? Or mycobacterium? I don't have any. Do I have ones with curved spines?
I don't know. I haven't looked closely enough, and I didn't look close enough at the video, so there might have been one in there. There's a few things that happen. I think the most predominant when it comes to curved spines is genetics, right? Especially if it's happening early on. You're gonna, for people who breed fish, it's something you see, especially with some of the live bears and some of the fish that have been heavily bred. Every once in a while, you're gonna say like, oh yeah, those fry, they're gonna have to go because they're supposed to be straight and they're basically curved like the letter C or something like that. So there's a genetic component to that, but then there's also age. I wouldn't say most, but there's a fair number of fish in our fish room that as they get older, they start to look pretty gnarly and their bodies get a little misshapen and stuff. So I think the two primary causes is genetics and then age. It happens. We've got one of our rice fish back here. It was one of the older ones that we had from downstairs, and it's starting to get a spine that's not the best. So yeah. Survival of the fittest. I've heard it could be TB also. Yeah, and we've talked about this before, but once the fish TB hits, you've really got to just get rid of those fish because it's not treatable in fish for the most part. I haven't heard of anybody treating it successfully.
All right, Molly wants to know, can you keep a rainbow shark in a 55 with a school of tiger barbs, and how many tiger barbs could you have?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good combo. So a 55-gallon rainbow shark and tiger barbs, yeah, I would say that'd be a pretty good mix. With the tiger barbs, I'd probably want in a 55 at least 20, because a lot of times you'll get the recommendation, keep at least 6 tiger barbs, and you're like, all right, I've got 6 or I've got 8, and inevitably what winds up happening is you just start to see one by one, they just pick each other off. You'll see, okay, I've got 8, and 7 of them are over here, and 1's over there, and then that one ends up dying. All right, now I got 7 left. Oh, wait, now I've got 6 over here and 1 over here, and that one dies. And it just, they do that. We did that. That happened to us with the Buenos Aires tetras a couple times. And it's, so to try to avoid that, more, right? In a 55-gallon, you could do 20, no problem. Survival of the fittest, thank you very much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. So, yeah, it'll be a good combo. Rainbow sharks probably not going to, even if they try to chase those tiger barbs around, they're pretty assertive and they're not going to be afraid for the most part. And there's going to be too many of them for them to really be like, yeah, I'm going to chase them all. Even our red-tail shark, when we had him in the 75-gallon, he was big. And the red-tail sharks, I think, are even more aggressive than the rainbows. We had black skirt tetras in that tank, and they were just, at first, when I put him in there, he's like, I'm going to chase them. And then there was like 8 of them in there. He's like, I'm not doing this anymore. This is a waste of time. Every time I chase one, the other 7 are laughing at me. I'm all out of breath. I'm just going to sit here on my rock and leave them alone. Got something?
Yeah.
All right.
Ali
Bring it.
asks, what are your thoughts on mulm and detritus in or unplanted tank substrates? Sometimes I hear it's natural and helps the aquarium. Other times I hear it will harm it.
Mulm.
50-50?
So you've got 2 things going on there, in or on. And I think there's a difference between the 2. If it's in, so for instance, you've got a gravel substrate and the mulm is in the tank and the tank is planted, Cool. It's going to be fish food. You just have to keep an eye on, as that stuff is breaking down, what's happening with my nitrate levels, because if it builds up too much, even with a planted tank, it could be bad, because if all of a sudden your nitrates are like, oh, they were 20, now they're 30, now they're 40, now they're 50, and I'm not doing any gravel backing. We talk about that in, I believe, in the nitrate reduction video. It's like, well, sometimes gravel backing will help because you're removing a lot of that organic material that's being broken down by heterotrophic bacteria and microorganisms, but then they're releasing stuff that is going to be used by algae and plants and things. But if it's too much, you start getting some water quality issues. I don't like the on part. I've never liked having mulch on the surface of my substrate. So if I'm dealing with sand, you're dealing with fish waste, right? And if you've got bottom scavenging type fish, now they're having to contend with it, and that is full of microbes, and those microbes are not really within the feces and in the fish waste. They're not beneficial. So I think you leave the door open for more possibility of having things go wrong with fish in terms of fish health, especially if they get injured. And now you've got the fish waste kind of mixing in there. So I don't like I'll deal with in the substrate in a planted tank only. But if I don't have a planted tank, you better believe I'm going side to side, front to back, and I'm removing all of that stuff in the gravel. Hello.
Whips World.
Uh-oh.
In the house.
Now trouble has arrived.
Oh, you got that right.
Yep.
All right. Hey, Professor, a follow-up question to Tuesday's The Small Scape. Sorry. Wednesday video. I love it.
Yep.
Would you or Miss Joanna know if lace rock is another name for Ceru or Dragonstone? No. Lace rock is Texas Holy Rock.
Yeah.
So that's a different.
It's a different thing, and I know that only because I was at a wholesaler not long ago, like a couple weeks ago, and they had no Dragonstone, Okostone, no Ceru stone, but they had lace rock. And when I went over there and looked at it, it was definitely different. Mm-hmm. Still cool, just different.
Sure.
Different cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. We are going to do, so we can tell them this.
What?
There actually isn't one giveaway tonight. There's actually not one, but two. Very different things.
Yeah, very
And
different.
we're going to do the first one in a few minutes. So for those of you who are like, man, did they forget about it? Because I didn't mention it at the beginning. Yes, we're going to do the thing number one in a few minutes, and then we'll do thing number two in a little while. But they're different. Better, different, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Fire Kicks reviews. Have a 20 long. Should I use two 10-gallon filters or one 20-gallon filter? Hang on back. That's a great question. I think with a 20-gallon long, it's short enough where it doesn't matter as much. So when I am picking out filtration, basically anything less than 3 feet, I just generally go with one filter. Once I get into the 40-gallon breeders, I start to debate. And if you looked at the fish room, you'd see some of my 40-gallon breeders have two filters, sponge filters. Some of them have a hang-on back and a sponge filter. Some of them just have one sponge filter. I really need to kind of straighten that out because there's no rhyme or reason to it, at least not anymore. In a 20-gallon long, I generally just do one. But it does make sense to have two 10-gallon filters as long as you can adjust the flow. But you could do either one, whatever one you want to do. But definitely when I go to 4 feet or above, I'm doubling up at least on the filters because the length is so much greater. If you're going to do the 120-gallon and you really want to make sure you're minimizing your dead spots, just kind of place it closer to the center. If you want to have a place that's a little bit less flow, then you can put it closer to one side. It might be something you experiment with if you go with a single filter. The only thing that you have to consider is often if you have a filter on one side of a longer tank and the other side has no water movement, that you'll often find is the side that produces a little bit more algae. In extreme cases, we've had it where you get kind of like that white, foggy sort of look to the bottom, like the substrate, because you're getting no water flow in there. And so it's almost like a biofilm thing starting to form. So, but usually if you got a 20-gallon filter on there, that's not going to happen, no matter where you put it. Manes, tails, furs, and fins. Hi, y'all.
Jess.
I can't wait to see y'all in Orlando. Yeah, it's going to be cool. We're looking forward to it. Glad you're going to be there.
Are you bringing the puppers?
Gotta
Hope
bring
so.
the dogs. Gotta bring the dogs.
They're so cute.
That's just a thing, man. That's a thing.
Jason Peculiar is here.
Cool.
Tell her, everybody say hi to him. Scotland, good morning.
Hello,
really
hello.
Really early.
Glad you're here.
Woo.
Hanging out with us in the morning night.
There was a question, I can't find it now, about a 10-gallon. Good fish for a beginner starting with a 10-gallon.
A good fish for a good fishes for a 10-gallon for beginners. Well, we do have a video out on that. We've got a couple videos, stocking options. Guppies. Yeah, guppies can be good for a 10-gallon, but for a beginner, then they have to figure out what they're going to do with the babies.
That's true.
So there's that.
There is that.
I think pygmy cory cats can be pretty cool, right? Yeah. Because you can get 4, 5, 6 of those in a 10-gallon with no problem.
A betta.
That's one
single fish.
Yeah, a betta can be good, and you can also keep it with those pygmy cories. That could be a good option. You have your smaller types of rasboras, like even the pork chop rasboras are readily available. Pretty hardy fish. You could do a small school of those, probably 6 or so. What else? Depending on your water parameters, if you have water parameters that are a little bit softer, on the softer side, a little bit lower, neutral pH, let's say. A lot of your tetras, I like black neon tetras a lot. I think they're the most hardy of the neon types, the black neons. Green neons, standards could all be good fish for beginners that are, generally speaking, pretty good. And guppies can be great. It's just, you got to deal with the babies. All right, let me see. Oh my gosh, everything just skipped around. You know why? Because that's what and I just had one I wanted to read, and it all did the jumping thing. Oh, here it is. Okay, Lynn, glad you're here. My pea puffers from Flip Aquatics just came out of quarantine, 100% survived. Came in at 66 degrees, figured I would lose all. 12 of 12 are now happily swimming in my heavily planted 20-gallon long. That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Adorable. That's good news too.
Yeah. Imagine.
That's cool. I do know that Flip Aquatics, at least with their fish, I know they quarantine. They have somebody who quarantines a lot of their fish for I think it's 2 weeks, and then they quarantine them additionally. So they really try to make sure that the fish they're sending out are not going to get to your door and be all messed up, because that serves nobody well when you ship fish out and then they have a problem. So now they've got a problem and they're angry and they didn't get the fish they wanted and they spent money. And now as a company, that's like the worst thing in the world. And that's why we don't ship fish, because people ask us all the time, why don't you ship fish? It's because, well, the fish that we bring in, we can sufficiently sell them locally and I don't have to deal with the shipping, because the last thing I'd ever want to do is send out fish to somebody and they come in and let's say they buy 10 fish and 3 of them are dead. Okay, well now I'm left with A, you got 3 dead fish. That's not cool. B, refunding stuff. C, trying to ship out more fish, and this time I'm only shipping out 3, and then they got the shipping costs, and oh my gosh, I can't deal with it. I can't. So I'd rather just bag them up, go to a swap, and sell them there. And like I said, we quarantine everything for, well, the last batch that we got will be 3 weeks before we sell them, but usually it's 4. So we want to make sure that, we do get fish that don't make it, but we want those to be in our fish room, not in people who buy our fish and take them back and be like, yeah, that was really cool. I bought a half a dozen fish from you and they all died. Well, that's not a good thing. That made me feel horrible. So I'd rather, if anything is not going to do well, I'd rather have it not do well in my stuff. Let's see here. We've got, what do we got here? Oh, dislike B. This is a bad person. Let's leaving bad comments. Someone's not behaving. We're going to have to say bye-bye.
120 gallon.
Okay, so we'll take care of that. Thank you, Matthew Does Stuff. All right, let's see what else we got here. Joe Williams. How you doing?
Hey, Joe.
How awesome is the new 60 breeders? Sounds like a good Tanganyikan community size. I think it is a cool tank, and I'm glad that they did that, because it just gives you more options. What I think is cool about it is you're getting a 4-foot tank that's 18.5 inches wide. So yeah, you're right. You're getting something that it's not a low boy, but you're getting sort of closer to those dimensions, right? And for people with shorter arms, or they just, they're shorter in general, the 75 gallon can be a little bit of a thing to deal with. So the nice thing is you can get the same stand as what you'd use for a 75 gallon. The lids will all work just fine. It's a 4-foot tank, so it's going to be easy to find lights. You can run double filters on it. It's shorter, And I think you're right. I think it's a pretty cool tank that if I had space in the fish room, trust me, I would at least double stack it. Somebody asked me a while ago if I would triple stack those. I don't think I would because, and I don't remember what the height is on those tanks, but I thought somebody said 16 inches or so, maybe 16, 17, somewhere in there. And for me, if I tried to triple stack them, that would mean the tank would have to be, one of the tanks would be really close to the floor. And I don't know if I want to do that. I don't know. All right, let's see. What you got?
Want me to find a question?
I want you to find a question, then we're going to do the first giveaway.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so excited. All right, let's see. Oh, Lee, could you guys maybe make a video on Julie cichlids if you still have them, please? I would love to keep them with some similar shell dwellers, but I would love more info on how to care for them.
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that's coming
Sure.
up because we have our Juliochromis ornatus that have been breeding like crazy. And usually what I prefer to do with a lot of the species profiles is I like to show video of not just the adult fish, but I like to show video of the fry and stuff. And now that we've got a bunch in the 20-gallon long, I'd like to do the ornatus. We've got the transcriptus. They're not Juliochromis, but the Lelupi would also be another one. So yeah, all of those will be coming at some point. It's just a matter of getting them all scheduled. So yeah, it's gonna be cool. All right, let's do a giveaway. Should we do a giveaway?
Sure.
Okay, giveaway number one. And that, all right, so the giveaway tonight is sponsored by, I wore this shirt, is brought to you by Flip Aquatics. Flip Aquatics, as you know, is one of our channel sponsors, and they have been nice enough to supply us with some stuff over the course of this year, and we're going to be getting some more stuff pretty soon. So it's not a huge, massive, like here's a $10,000 setup, but it's a pretty cool thing, and it's something we've been using in our fish room for quite some time. And that is the North Fin Bug Pro. And so this is a nice amount. This will probably last you a little while, especially if you don't have a bunch of large tanks. But what I like about this North Fin Bug Pro
Huge and large.
huge, large tanks. Yeah, huge number of large tanks is probably what I meant to say. But this is some good stuff. And what I like about it is the Bug Pro, the size. All right, I'm going to see if this is not sealed. I'm going to show you. It might be sealed, though. Let me see. Yeah, it's sealed. But the size is relatively small. And so this stuff is good for, we feed it to our bristlenose, all types of plecos, bristlenose plecos. We've got a snowball. We've got the blue phantoms. So basically our plecos love to eat this stuff. Our cory cats go crazy for this stuff. Pretty much all of the South Central American cichlids get it. I don't tend to feed it to the Mbuna just because it's heavily, it's a protein-based thing being Bug Pro. Peacocks. So basically a lot of our fish get it. Lots of them eat it. It does tend to sink, but it does stay because it's a smaller grain. It's not like microscopic or anything or micro size, but it will float for a little bit and then it starts to drop down, which is cool. So it will definitely feed some of your mid water column feeders as it falls, and then your bottom fish, your loaches. Oh my gosh, our clown loaches go absolutely crazy for this stuff. They all come out. And our Raphael cat, I am not kidding you. The minute I throw this stuff in the water, the Raphael cat is like, oh, wait a minute, I gotta wake up over here.
Right.
I gotta go over there because the stuff's gonna come falling down here pretty soon. And then lately, what he's been doing when I put this in there is before it even starts to fall, he goes up the top and starts sucking it all off the top of the tank. So that's the story there. That's what we're giving away first. Now, again, we're only going to ship this in the continental United States, unfortunately, because it would cost a small fortune to ship it somewhere else outside of the United States. But this is good stuff. Again, Flip Aquatics, they've got this on their website. It's good stuff. Check them out if you're interested in it. And they come in much larger containers too. So you can get them in big ones that will last a very long time. They even last me a long time, and we've got a bunch of tanks. Okay. All right. Now, this time, we're going to make it a little easier. Hold on. I got to get the go in here. So hold on. Let me just type this in. So after you see my little go now thing pop up, your job is you got a number picked out. So we're just going to keep it simple because we can't think of anything new because every time we do, we're like, it's just too much work. So, but this time, are you ready? because we're going to have a range of numbers and they're going to be different. For this giveaway, we're going to do a number between, are you ready? Between 1 and 20. Go. First one that gets the number that Joanna wrote down is the person who gets the Bug Pro. Go now. Guess the number.
In the Continental, it's on the other side.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were holding up the number.
No.
Hold on. Wait, let's see. Do we get it? Whoa, this thing's going fast. Let me see. And stop. All right, we have a winner. Okay. We already have a winner. And that winner, wait, you got to show the number. The number is number 2. And Ben Backstrom. Backstrom is our winner. Ben, nice job. And so what you need to do, Ben, is you need to send us an email with your address to, what's the email address? I always forget it. My gosh, hold on. I got to remember. Ben, just wait a second here, dude.
The show here.
Yeah, I know. You'd think I'd
giveaway singular?
No. Don't start saying stuff that's just not correct. Hold on. Let me bring the thing up here because I forget it every week. It is, Ben, you're going to be sending your thing, your information, your address to primetimegiveaway.
That's what I said.
At yahoo.com. Primetimegiveaway@yahoo.com. Ben Backstrom, you are the winner. So congratulations. Don't worry. For those of you who are like, oh man, we're going to have another thing to give away in probably a little bit. So,
wait.
Yeah, we're not going to do it right back to back. Everybody's just got to rest their fingers and take a breath, and because it gets really exciting. Your heart's pumping. Like, am I going to be there? This is my number. This is my favorite number. Did you get it? Right. So primetime giveaway at yahoo.com. That's the thing. Okay. So let me come back over here. Oh, that was really bright looking at that computer screen. So congratulations and thank you for everybody who played along with that one. We'll have another one here in a few minutes. In a short amount of time. Let's get back to the questions.
Liz said, wee. Liz is here.
Liz is here?
Liz.
Hold on a second. I want to see something. Let me go all the way to the top here because I want to go back into the question area. Okay. Wait a minute. Lion. Just want to see something. I think. No, we're good. I think we're good. Hold on, my thing is all skipping around.
Yeah, I don't know how you look there.
Because that's what I do, man. All right. Now I can't even see the old questions anymore because all the numbered things came up. All right, let's. Well, Multitank Addiction is here. What's up?
All right.
Thank you for the emoji. Appreciate the fecal matter. I mean, we were just kind of talking about it, so that's cool. That's pretty cool. Liz has been a member for not 1, not 2, but 9 months. Thank you very much for being here. That was exciting. Is Joanna having another live stream on Saturday? Well, this Saturday, no. We're going to do another one. I just don't know when. So it probably, we're trying to do at least once a month. That's the goal. And we'll see how that goes. Eventually, we'd like to do it more often on Saturdays for people who can't be here on Wednesday nights live. So if you're watching the replay, like, man, I really like those Saturday ones. We're going to try to do more, but we're getting into some busy times in the summer in terms of our weekends getting really filled up with, kids' sports and stuff. That's really starting to come along. So once that ends, kids' sports, I think, are going to be pretty close to a thing of the past. So yeah, we'll do more, but I think we're at least shooting for one a month. All right, let's see here. Jenna says, how many air stones should be in a 10-gallon tank? Air stones? If that's separate from, if you're doing that separate from your filtration, then one's probably plenty. You don't need any. If you've already got a filter like a hang-on back that's putting water into the tank, you're getting surface agitation that way. But if you just like it because you're like, oh, this looks pretty cool, you can put, one is certainly enough. You want to put a little bubbly guy in there, you can do that. You want to put an air stone in the back so you get the bubbles in the back. That's cool too. So you could do that. But yeah. Let me see here. Multitank Addiction. I'm wearing the same shirt as Joanna.
All
He's
right.
got the watercolor shirt. Rocking it. That's cool.
Nice.
Very cool. All right, let me see here. I am looking around. Kyle says, what size tank do I need for 2 common goldfish and 2 fancy goldfish? Also, what should I use for structure? That's a great question. Okay, if I were doing 2 commons and 2 fancies, I would probably, and I know this is always shocking to people, but the common goldfish get very large. And when I did that video, it was very early on. We had 4 or 5 in a 40-gallon breeder, and I mentioned that was temporary. And quite frankly, those goldfish were probably stunted, not because of something I did, because they had actually been in a 20-gallon long for a very long time before I got them and said, well, at least I can double the volume. When I had those 5, my plan was to either give them away to someone who had a pond, or I was going to put them in the 125. And I thought that was going to be a reasonable amount of space. So if I was doing 2 common and 2 fancies, I think the minimum, and I mean the bare minimum, would be a 75. But if I were doing it, I probably want a 6-foot tank. They get really big. And I think what people don't appreciate sometimes, and I'm sure you do because that's why you're asking the question, is just how large those common goldfish can get. And then you add the fancies and they get like, oh my gosh, this thing's like almost like the size of a baseball or even larger. And they get a pretty decent bioload too. So I'd go larger if you could. What you got?
John Wood is here. Hey, John.
Wood's here. Wow. Cool.
Let's see. Do fish get vitamins and minerals from water? I'm asking because I have gotten fish from people who have fed a food and after a week or 2 won't touch it. Looking for a reason.
If they ate the food and they don't, I don't know. I mean, maybe they just, no. So no, the answer to your question is they're probably not getting a lot of vitamins and minerals from water because there's really not a lot of vitamins and minerals. Minerals, yes, but the vitamins, there's really nothing in there. There's nothing of nutritional value in the water. So ultimately fish need calories just like we do in the form of the macros, right? The 4 macros are that's what's going to keep fish alive. So your carbs, your lipids, your proteins, and that kind of thing. So if the water's not going to have that, and they're going to need to eat food. So if they're not eating the food, chances are they're just for whatever reason, they don't like the texture or the flavor or something is just wrong, and it's probably time to switch foods, especially if they're eating. The other thing that could be happening though is if they're sick. That could explain a lot too. It's like, yeah, they were eating fine and they stopped. It's like, well, let's just make sure there's not an internal parasite rolling around in there too, because that could also be a potential issue. All right, what else? Oh, I saw a good one. Mike says, do you keep your CO2 system running overnight or just during the day? So A, we don't run CO2. But B, you would not run CO2 at night. And here's why. Aquatic plants, what they do is when the lights are on, they do all the photosynthesis stuff. Photosynthesis. All right, who knows what that's from? Don't say a word. Okay, so the question is to the crew, photosynthesis angels. What's it from and who was making them? But anyway, back to your question. Yeah, you are, and that's pretty sad because you should know this. What happens is the plants do the photosynthesis and they are in the presence of light, and what they're doing is they're, of course, taking that CO2 and they're building basically the building blocks that they need to grow. They're also releasing oxygen. All right, so that's what we tend to think about land plants, aquatic plants. They're doing that, bringing in the CO2, making the stuff, the structure that they need in order to grow, and then releasing oxygen. They're doing that when the lights are on. When the lights are off, they don't do that anymore. Now what they're doing is they behave a lot like us metabolically. Since the lights are off, now they're taking all those stored sugars that they made while the lights were on and they're breaking them down. So they're not using CO2. At this point, they're producing CO2. So not only can they not use it, they're producing it. This presents problems for us fish keepers, and especially for those of you who have ponds. A lot of times what can happen is people will have ponds where their fish will die off, and they're like, what in the heck is going on? And then they start testing their water, and their pH is all over the place, and they can't figure out why. Well, what happens is while the lights are on and the plants, or in this case in ponds, if you've got excessive algae, while the plants or the excessive algae is consuming the CO2, producing oxygen in the process of photosynthesis, as that CO2 is leaving the water, it can actually increase the pH. When you switch to the lights off and now the plants are actually producing CO2, that CO2 in an aqueous environment can be converted to carbonic acid. If the pond or the fish tank is not well buffered, that can cause a crash in pH. And so what you wind up seeing is a pH that kind of does this. It goes up during the day and goes down at night and up during the day, and it just kind of cycles. And that can create a lot of stress in an aquatic system and can kill fish. So that is why you would not run CO2 at night, because it would actually potentially cause some very serious water quality issues, and it's not going to be used by your plants. So what a lot of people do who run CO2 is the lights come on. So when they're thinking about timing, the lights come on, and usually at some point after that, I don't have the exact numbers for the CO2 and when they run it, but let's just say it's 20 minutes, a half hour later. So then the CO2 is on a timer and that kicks on. And that stays on as long as, it stays on throughout the light period, but then usually the CO2 goes off about a half hour or so before the lights turn off. So that's generally what a lot of people will do. So hopefully that helps. Kyle, thank you very much for the super chat. Another great question. What is good structure? For the structure for them, goldfish, and is gravel or sand better? I'm sorry, I forgot to answer the second part of your question. And thank you for the super chat. What's better for? What's good for structure? I would say anything that's not going to be sharp. Goldfish are kind of just like clumsy and they're silly. And man, I don't know, I would love to hear from you guys. I consider goldfish not to be the most careful swimmers in the world. I don't know if we've ever really talked about fish in terms of how careful they are. It's a thought that just popped into my brain.
Yeah, some of them are like bulldozers.
Oh, that's a video we're doing. The most careful fish. Top 10 most careful fish. Are you a careful person? Are you thoughtful? Do you think about your actions before you go out and just do crazy things? Then these fish may be for you. Or are you reckless? Do you take chances? Do you drive really fast?
You never addressed the photosynthesis. Is that SpongeBob?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
We have many SpongeBob.
Okay, yes. Now, does anybody remember why he was doing the photosynthesis angels? I'll give you a hint. He was doing karate.
Was he?
Yep, he was doing karate with Sandy.
With Sandy?
And they couldn't stop. They were addicted. And so to stop from doing the karate, remember, he was doing the photosynthesis angels because Mr. Krabs was getting really mad at him. That's what happens when you have small kids and you watch SpongeBob all the time, and then you start watching it by yourself because something goes... No, I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying before that? Because I totally lost it.
Oops.
Do you remember? What was I saying?
No, I'm trying to find a couple questions here.
Hold on a second, because I totally... Oh, the structure. I'm sorry. So, yeah, goldfish, I don't consider them to be very careful. They're just kind of clumsy. They're goofy. I would try to stay away from sharp things. And so if you're going to do driftwood, you might want to lean towards the Mopani or the Malaysian, which is fine. You can do that. Plants, I've actually seen, a lot of people say, oh, goldfish eat plants. And they do. They eat their fair share. And they will definitely dig up a lot of the rooted plants. But you might be able to glue some anubias if you wanted to. Just try it out. I wouldn't spend a lot of money. Just give it a try if you want. Plastic plants are fine for goldfish. I mean, that's fine. In terms of the substrate, gravel or sand, you are going to get some mixed opinions. I think probably the more vocal opinions when it comes to substrate is that a lot of people like to try to not have gravel, especially smaller gravel, in the tank that the goldfish can get lodged in their throat. So, yeah, that's the story there. Thank you.
Okay, you missed a super chat.
No, did I?
Yes, you did.
Hold on.
And in the meantime, Kevin's Aquatics, we missed his question. Sniff, sniff. We do try and get as many questions as possible.
Yeah, we do. Hold on. So wait a minute.
Let me read you Kevin's first.
Okay.
Will red parrot cichlid eat rummy nose tetras if in the same 55-gallon planted tank?
It will try. Yes, it will try. Their mouth is kind of jacked up, and it's not going to be easy for them, but they will try to suck those bad boys in for sure. I missed a super chat. Where is it?
You did. It's
Hold on.
Wait, I took a picture.
Okay, good.
With
That's why you're here.
Well, Liz, chat jumping all the time. We do the best.
Hold on, Liz is here. She's got a super chat, so you find it.
Hi,
Speaking about the photosynthesis CO2 process, can I have too many plants in my tank? Will they eventually choke out the fish? Probably not. The CO2 issue is, and first of all, where you're at in the Cleveland area, your water is a little bit harder, so your KH is probably, from what I can remember, right, your KH is a little bit harder or a little bit higher. So the likelihood that the CO2 that they produce causing a problem is pretty minimal. And the other thing too is when you've got filtration, you've got surface agitation, that CO2 is gassing off fairly well. That's why it's a bigger issue in ponds, especially ponds that are more stagnant. But in fish tanks, if you've got air stones or you've got, hang on back filters that are causing surface agitation, that CO2 is mostly gassing off. That's a good question. All right, what else?
It's from Survival of the Fishiest.
Cool. Thank you.
But where is it?
Okay, well, hold on. Let me do my thing here. I will find the question.
Sometimes it's hard to go back because the chat
it
jumps
only goes back
and
so
goes back
far.
down, and then it will get stuck and you can't go further back up. So yeah.
Hold on.
That would be great if we answered every single question, though. Wouldn't that be cool?
Heck yeah, it'd be cool.
However many comments come in.
All right.
You'd have to talk faster and keep your answers really brief.
I'd really have to
zip it.
Step up my game here. Hold on. This thing is thinking. But you go ahead and find more questions while it's thinking. I'm going to go look for the super chat we missed.
What's a good diet for electric blue acara?
Good question. Electric blue acara, we fed one, they'll eat this Bug Pro stuff fairly readily. They like it. Two, we do a lot of North Fin flakes, so community flakes, cichlid flakes. They will go crazy for frozen bloodworms, frozen brine shrimp. What else? They're really not picky eaters. They're like little vacuums. So survival of the I know I did recognize survival of the fishiest, a $5 super chat, but there was no question. So I remember saying thank you for that, and thank you. If you didn't hear, thank you very much. Survival of the fishiest.
If there's
Appreciate
a question that you had, then
yeah, definitely.
Sorry,
and you don't have to super chat it. You just put at Primetime Aquatics, and we'll try to look out for it. So we don't want to skip stuff. But thank you, really appreciate it. Suzanne, thank you very much for the super chat. Why do my mated angels fight? They just laid eggs yesterday. Also, do I turn off the lights? Oh, that's two good questions. Why do your mated angels fight? Because sometimes they just do that. Sometimes they get angry. I don't know if there's any real reason why. They'll lock lips every once in a while and do that. The bigger question than one about turning off the lights is an awesome question. And that it doesn't just pertain to angelfish. This pertains to any fish that lays eggs in or on a structure. And here's my answer. If I've got fish that are laying eggs in or on a structure, and there are other fish in the tank, I try to give them some visual at night so they can protect their eggs, especially if you've got some type of algae-eating, scavenging fish. So you've got bristlenose plecos, you've got mystery snails, you've got otocinclus, you've got some catfish that like, or some loaches that are like awake at night and be like, I'm going to sneak over there and just get a little snack because they're not looking, they're asleep, it's cold and it's rainy and it's dark. So with that, I do not leave the lights on in the tank, and I don't generally even use those blue lights because I still think that there's too much illumination there for the fish to really get the rest that they need. But what I will often do is in the fish room, I have a light on. It's a low wattage light that's just in the room. Sometimes I'll leave that on because it's just enough light for them to be able to see that there is a potential threat so they can protect their area, but not so much light that it's going to keep the other fish awake. So I try to be considerate. So it's a little happy balance. So that's what I do.
Here's the question.
I want the question.
From Survival of the Fishiest.
What you got?
Here you go. My furcata has his mouth stuck open. Oh, will he survive this? Surgery?
Generally, when my fish have done that, they've never survived. And I've had a lot of fish do that. I've had cichlids do it. I've had smaller fish do it. I've had tetras do it. And once that happens, I've never been able to get them past that point, unfortunately. So I don't have a good answer for you, like in terms, and maybe some of you have. And if you have, feel free to pop, in the chat and be like, oh yeah, that happened to me, and this is what I did. But for me, I just haven't been able to successfully deal with that in the times that I've noticed it. All right, so Snowball and Strike, the budgies, did the giveaway happen already? Well, we're doing two. One of them happened we are about right now, I think, is
Yeah.
now the time to do the second one.
It's more limited usage, however.
Yeah, this
we
one's
thought it
going to
would
be more
fun.
limited, but some people have made the comment, and we were able to obtain one of these things, and it's definitely, it might not apply to everybody. So Suzanne says the angels are alone in the tank. No, then I'd shut them off. I would shut the as long as you've got a decent amount of water flow next to that thing, then you can shut the light off. All right. So here we go.
Are we ready?
The second giveaway is this. We got another one. We procured a pinkish pink.
It's pink. This is, I would say, bubblegum
Yeah.
pink.
So some of you have asked, like, oh my gosh. And then it just so happens we put in an order, and the shirt that they provided, the
yeah.
extra one that they provided,
it's a
was
bonus
pink. We're like,
one.
and the first thing she said is, we got to bring this to the live stream. Someone's going to want this.
Yeah.
So,
It's a size large.
yeah.
So anybody who likes would wear a size large pink, bubblegum pink primetime shirt.
Yep. This is for you. Size large. It's a size large, but same thing.
Unisex, size large.
Same thing applies. We can only ship these things in the continental United States, unfortunately. So that's kind of, oh my gosh, we got a lot of people who are like, oh, that's awesome.
And here's a question. Here's a question. Say somebody thinks they picked the number first. Can they go back tomorrow or when the live stream is posted and look to see?
Oh yeah, because the live stream, the chat will, like, as you watch the live stream, if you've got the live chat on, it should show the flow of the live stream as well. And if that ever happened, we'd make that right for sure. We're not trying to pick somebody and be like, oh, we got you. We know you answered it first, but we're not giving it to you because, well, your name just isn't the one that we wanted. So if that ever does happen, legitimately happens, you can definitely go back and just send us an email, the same email, like, hey, you know what? I think I might have been the first one. And I can go back and check too. And guess what? We can fix that situation. But that doesn't take away.
And everybody, they would notice too and be like, hey, prime time.
Yeah. And that doesn't take away from the person who won that we announced, because you just have two winners that time. So that's what would happen. Okay. So here we go. The pink.
Yes, you can get one for a spouse.
Of course. Yeah, so the pink Primetime Aquatic shirt, size large. This one we're doing a little different. It's still going to be pick a number, but don't start yet, because there's a very specific thing that we're doing here. And what we're doing is, after I say, okay, go, the number range is different, right? The number range is, are you ready? 21 through 50. Go. 21 through 50, the first person that gets it. What's the number? But it's greater, it's 21 or greater and less than 50. What do we got?
No, it's not salmon. The other one's salmon. This is hot pink.
Wait, show me the number. Hold on, let's see. Oh, here it comes. Here it comes.
Ooh, this is so exciting.
Wait, what number do you have? Okay.
Oh my God, you can't.
All right, I just lost everything here. Did you get it yet?
No.
21 to 50. The first person who gets it. Wow, this is I'm not seeing it yet.
Nope.
Hold on. We still got a lot of guessers here. What the heck? Is like the only number you haven't picked, y'all.
Nope,
This must just be a number. Did you pick a real number?
I did. Yeah, it's a whole did it skip? It shouldn't skip my finger on the.
No, mine's not skipping, and I don't
scrolling.
see it. Oh, wait, shoot. Hold on. All right, I believe.
Oh.
You got it?
I think I do.
What do you
I'm
got?
gonna double check.
What do you got?
Do you find it?
Mine's skipping
I
now.
want to double check it.
Let's
Should
see.
I?
That's the one I had too.
This is?
Yeah.
Okay. Preliminary results. Should I announce
Preliminary results?
Number 31, Snowball Strike the Budgie.
That's right. It looks like you are.
Okay. 31. Number 31. It feels like bingo.
Yeah. How cool is that?
Bingo. Bingo's so fun. I never get to play bingo, and I've never worked bingo.
So number 31.
Okay, let's make sure. Let's everybody double check. I don't see any 31s prior to that.
I don't either. That was the first 31 that I saw. I mean, I see a lot of 31s later on down the road here.
There was 21s. There was 32s. There was 33s. Hope it skipped. Oh, it's jumping. Oh my goodness, it's got a mind of its own. All right, well, unless somebody calls this wrong, we're gonna say Snowball, send your address to primetime giveaway, singular, primetime giveaway at yahoo.com.
That's the one.
Yahoo!
Do it.
Do it.
Like I said, if we ever make a mistake with this, we'll fix it. No worries. You just send it back. Hey, check the chat, and I think I won too, because that's a nice thing. We've always got other things.
But yeah, the last one was more of a salmony pink. This one is definitely, and I don't know what the color is coming through, but it is bubblegum pink. It's like
Bubblicious.
It's like I just forgot my train of thought.
That's a good job.
Wow.
All right. So anyway, let's get back to the questions here, because your train of thought is all messed up.
It's gone.
Yep. Crown Tail Half Moon says looks like snow. Looks like snow. All right. Nice. Thanks for the confirmation.
More snow.
Snowball says, I just checked. It was me now. It was me. Wow. Yeah. I think it was too. So
Yahoo!
Awesome. Nice job. We're going to have more, right? I mean, not tonight, but we've got, trust me, we've got boxes of stuff that we cannot wait to unleash upon all these awesome people of you, because you deserve it. So let's see here. What you got?
Carson wanted to know, why is everyone commenting numbers already? Well, had a giveaway number 2.
Yeah, we did 2 of them. And so the chat gets all filled up with special things. All right, let's see. Back to the questions, Leo, or where'd you go? Any tips for food to an electric blue car that stopped eating, won't eat frozen brine, spirulina, krill? All right, so you're giving them the good stuff. My general rule of thumb is with a fish like that, with especially electric blue acara, if they're not eating the good stuff, which is to me is frozen bloodworms, things like that, something is wrong. You got an internal parasite there. So with that, you could try Expel P, and what's the other one, Buy Fritz. And I just mentioned those because I've used those before, and they're pretty good. So Expel P and Paracleanse. Paracleanse is the other one. Try those, because they're different meds. One of them's got levamisole. I never remember which one. One of them's got levamisole. One of them I think might have metronidazole. And usually when you have those in combination, they're going to work out fairly well. And if that doesn't work, then you probably got something that's going to be resistant to a lot of the meds. But yeah, you're feeding you're thinking the right way. It's like, okay, you'll get fish that sometimes like, all right, they won't eat the flakes, they won't eat the pellets, maybe they're just picky. When you got fish that won't eat the frozen stuff and it's good, then there's usually there's no problem with the tummy. All right, let's see. Oh, this thing sure does like the what?
Darth Lobster wants to know, would you ever consider doing any content on axolotls, or are they too far removed from fish?
You know, it's funny you mention that, because that's all the thing right now. Was there a TV show or something that where there were axolotls, I think?
Oh, yeah.
That's why they're so popular now. I've never kept one. So even if I did, I wouldn't be somebody who's like, wow, yeah, I've been keeping these for 4 years. Like a lot of the fish, it just comes second nature, because I've been keeping a lot of these fish for so long. But an axolotl, I'll be like, all right, I got one. Here's what I know and why we would probably not keep them. And the reason for that is, one, we wouldn't be able to put it in the fish room, because the fish room is kicking at like 78, 79. And axolotls like cool temperatures. We would probably still struggle with keeping it in our house, because the downside of our home is, people have been here before. We keep our house, like the entire house. This is going to sound crazy to some of you, like you guys are nuts, but this is the price of having a fish room and heating the room. To keep our fish room at 78, actually the room is, keeping the tanks at 78, the room is like 81, 82. To keep the basement at 81, 82 without using a space heater, because I don't want to leave those things on all the time, our thermostat right now, you want to tell them what it's set at? Go ahead and tell them.
I don't look at it. It's like, what, 78?
It's at 77.
But it feels like 82.
Nah, you get used to it. It's a dry heat. It's a dry heat because the heat's on. Your skin's all like, oh my gosh, it's so... but yeah, it's kicking at 77 right now in our house. So right now with these lights on and all this stuff, it's probably 80 up here right now.
No problem. You got it.
In the summer, it's actually a money saver because then I can just keep the air on at 77, 78. And when it's 90 outside, you come here, it's like, oh, yeah, it feels better in here.
Yeah.
So generally speaking, at nighttime, I'm not someone who's going to be like snuggling up with all the blankies because it's 77 degrees in here.
Yeah,
so,
you'll cook.
Moral of the story is when it comes to axolotls, then we don't have the environment to give them the proper temperatures in their tank that they would need. Because, even these, I mean, we call these unheated tanks, but they're still probably like 74, 75 most of the time. Kyle, thank you for the super chat. Is putting rocks and sand from outside okay to put in a tank? Also, what is a good filter for a 29-gallon tank? Two good questions. Thank you. So, rocks and sand. I'm okay with the rocks. I don't want to chance the sand personally because I think there's a higher likelihood that there's going to be excessive moisture in sand and therefore a higher potential for parasites. I like the rocks a little bit better because there's not quite, because sand, they're little tiny pieces, so when you add it all together, there's a ton of surface area there. And it's also going to be a little bit more difficult to ensure its safety. Where if you have a rock, especially if it's relatively smooth, the surface is a little bit easier to disinfect because I can just take that rock and I can dump it in 10% bleach solution, or I can spray it down with hydrogen peroxide. I can wash it really well and I can deal with that. But definitely, a lot of you have to double check and make sure your rocks are safe. They don't have metals in them, which most of them don't, but if they're like shiny or speckly or you see metallic sort of colors, maybe stay away from some of those. But like rocks that you find in a creek or something like that, I usually put them in a bucket with 10% bleach. If you are worried about what the rocks are going to do to your aquarium water, I always recommend get a 30-gallon, 27-gallon tote, go to Home Depot, Lowe's, throw the rocks in there, put an air stone in there to keep the water just from being stagnant. Wait a week or two, test it and see if your KH went up, if your pH was adjusted. If it didn't, then you've got a better handle on whether or not it's going to be okay for your tank. Shelly says, you guys must stay so warm on a cold winter's night. Yeah, that's one way to put it.
I go outside to cool off. Yeah.
I'm going to go sit in the snow for a while. And see, I'm totally used to it. So when we go out and someone is like normal and they keep their house like, oh, it's winter time and the house is like 68 or 70. And then we used to do that too. I remember before we had to heat the fish room, I think the thermostat in the evening was set at like 66 degrees. And now stuff. When I walk into a house at 66, I'm like, ooh, it's cold in here. So it's,
Yep.
Darth Lobster. Ooh, boy, that's pretty hot. Yes, it is. But like I said, you can get used to it. Jerry's Fish Room. My spots. Sandy got, what is that? Dinged up? Dinged up. Pulled him out to heal. No infection right now. Is water changes enough to heal him? What's a spot, Sandy? It's a fish. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a fish. Is water changes enough to heal him? Depends on how dinged up. Water changes are good. You've got the fish separated right now. I don't know what kind of fish. So if it is something that can withstand a little bit of salt, maybe a tablespoon per 10 gallons or so might be helpful. It helps increase mucus. And then just keep an eye. If it's getting worse, then you might want to do some type of like a Maricin or something like that. That's an antifungal, antibacterial. All right, let's scroll
good
around.
Point. Shannon said, I'll give a big, huge thanks to Dave from Iowa.
Oh, yeah,
He's
Dave from
manning
Iowa.
the ship all by himself.
Well, I saw Dave from Iowa is doing, you're doing awesome, man.
Thanks, Dave.
Did I just say Dan?
Did you?
You know what my problem is? So if I ever say that, Dave, it's not because I don't know your name. It's because there was another person named Dan. Remember Dan from Iowa? He used to go to the aquarium, what was the other one? Aquatic Experiences.
Oh, he wasn't from Iowa, though.
Yes, he was.
He was?
No,
he was from East Coast somewhere. Dan the Man.
I don't remember. But anyway, Dave.
What happened to Dan?
I don't know. Whatever happened to Dan?
That's right.
That should be a book or a movie.
What happened to Dan?
I'm going to start making quotes from Whatever Happened to Dan, the movie.
It's the sequel to
and nobody's
What
ever
About
seen
Bob?
it. Yeah, Whatever Happened to Dan. But Dave, thank you so much. You're doing an awesome job here. It's very cool. Okay, let me see here. I'm I'm scrolling around.
I have,
Otopharynx, spots. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the spots. Yeah. Oh, then you're fine. You could definitely do some salt there. You could easily do 1 tablespoon per 10 gallons with an otopharynx. So, and just keep an eye on it. All right, let me see here. Lieutenant Dan, Duke's Aquarium. Lieutenant Dan. Yep. Let's see. Bill. Hi, guys. What's something to put down on aquarium glass to disperse heavy rock weight besides egg crate? Oh, that's a good question. I wish I had a really great answer for you because I generally don't do it. Because, I mean, you look at our fish tanks, we don't have like a ton of rocks. I think the most we have is the flagstone, and luckily for us, the base of the flagstone is fairly long, so it's dispersing that weight throughout a significant part of the tank. Yeah, egg crate's good. I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I had another answer for you, but I can't think of anything. Can you think of anything off the top of your head that would?
no,
I don't know.
no.
But just, yeah. Sometimes that's why a lot of people use those fake rocks because there's nothing to worry about. But
Because those
gets
tanks
expensive
get
too.
heavy.
Heck yeah.
Heavy and pricey.
Yep. Connor says, Joanna, what is some good house plants that can grow out of the aquarium, and then some good aquarium plants that can grow out of the water with low humidity? Ooh.
With low humidity. Well, I like Bacopa. Bacopa does really well in an aquarium, and it'll grow out not only up, like, so if you have hardscaping that's coming out of the water, it'll kind of creep up above, but it'll also creep on top of the water. Super cool. And then pothos. Everybody loves pothos. That's a great house plant that propagates no problem whatsoever, and that can grow out of an aquarium. Let's see what else. Creeping Jenny is a kind of a close relative to Bacopa, and that's a land plant. You get usually for your outdoor planters, but it also does really well for like around ponds, because it'll also do that thing too. But any of the like Anubias will grow out of the water as long as the rhizome's under there. Let's see, what else am I thinking? There's a lot of different plants like for ponds that will do well kind of around the outskirts. It depends how much time you have, but those are a few.
And Anubias wouldn't do well.
I said Anubias.
Oh, I wasn't. I'm sorry. I was reading the chat. So, my bad. Let's see here. Let me see. Dark bacon. One of my angelfish keeps gulping air at the surface of the tank, and my other angelfish are fine along with all the other fish. What is going on? Temp raised to 85 due to ick. Okay, that's it. Most likely that angel is being impacted more by the ick than the other fish. It's very frequent. It's a very common thing where you're going to see some of the fish that just they've got more spots. They're battling it a little bit more. Perhaps the ick really started to colonize the gill tissue, which is one of the first areas that it will colonize, and that's why it's probably gulping. So you've got the temperature up, right? So 85 is also going to cause some dissolved oxygen issues potentially. And the way that you get around that is maybe you throw an extra air stone in there, as long as you've got some surface agitation to help with that. But most likely that's the reason why. If you're dealing with ick, that fish is just kind of a little bit more sensitive right now, or maybe has a more heavy infection than the other fish in the tank. Multitank Addiction. It was a super chat. They should be able to go back and find it in the studio. Oh well, Jason can text me on Messenger later if he doesn't catch it now. What did I miss, man?
What'd you miss, man? Zen Ginger is asking me, what's your favorite plant for a 5 and 10 gallon tank with bettas? I've had some Anubias, but I'm looking for something else that will either benefit them or look pretty. In both a 5 and a 10, I would recommend any kind of crypt. Crypt would look great, and it'll fill up a nice amount of space. My bettas usually like to kind of creep along the base. Anubias, especially, say you do have Anubias, you could get different kind of Anubias. So which ones with larger leaf, you can kind of combine those. They won't grow super fast or overtake your tank, but it also provide a lot of cover. And a lot of bettas like to kind of rest on those larger leaves too. And then also, especially for your 5 gallon, I would highly recommend Buse. there's a lot of beautiful, if you're looking for looks, there's a lot of really beautiful buse. They're very small. They're just as cool as a Nubius Nana Petite, but they have like wavy little longer leaves in slightly different colors. Those would be my suggestions. And then there's always Bacopa. Bacopa is really fun, and you can get that in tissue culture in Petco. PetSmart is where I usually find it. And let's see, there was another one that I was going to name and I forget. Do you want to?
I wasn't paying attention. I was saying, I thought I missed the super chat. I don't think I did. I looked at all of them. I think I got all of them. Somebody missed an answer. But anyway, yeah, whatever you said, because I actually wasn't listening at all. So hopefully you answered the question intelligently, and you
also
did a great
floating
thing.
plants. You can consider floating plants, like Amazon frogbit, Salvinia minima. Yeah, those will all be really good.
Yep.
Why is there's one that I'm thinking that I'm missing? That I'm gonna be like, duh.
So anyway, let me, salty potatoes, could a pair of Epistogramma be kept in a 20 long with some otosynchus? A breeding pair, you could potentially run into the issue we talked about earlier, where depending on where the Epistogramma lay their eggs, you might run into an issue where the otosynchus might sneak in there and try to eat the eggs. The other issue might be if they do breed and they want to protect their fry, if the otos get too close, they're going to chase them away, but I don't know if they're going to be overly aggressive. The only downside is the otos are somewhat defenseless. But in terms of just aggression levels, yeah, they'd probably get along just fine. All right.
Zen ginger, bulbitis.
There you go.
I think bulbitis would be amazing. Yeah.
It would be amazing. James is here. What's up? Must go. However, thanks to Primetime Aquatics and Miss Primetime Aquatics for hosting this event. And thanks to Dave from Iowa. Oink Master Supreme Forever, she was here too.
Oh.
And Lynn was here. So absolutely. Yep. We got some crew here. But James, I'm glad you're here, man. Thanks for stopping by. Glad you were here.
And we can most certainly have moderators here that are also kind of lurking or doing things in the
just
background.
Like, hey, dude, I need a break.
Like, hey, I gotta be changing water, or I gotta be sitting here and stuff.
All right, let me see here. We'll do a couple more. And then we'll call it a night, and everybody can enjoy their cooler home, and we'll enjoy our 77 degrees. Soft taco. Any good substitute for bloodworms? I'm apparently, you're allergic. Yeah, that is a thing for sure. And I don't know. So I don't know if people who are allergic to bloodworms, are they allergic to blackworms? Because you could do those. You've got, let's see here, you got frozen krill. Just make sure you rinse it really, really, really well. Don't do what I did. It had been a long time since I had used frozen krill, and I was in a hurry, and I had this big old block, and I cracked it off of a bigger block, and then I started cracking it. I just started chucking it in tanks. Frozen krill. Those of you who know about frozen krill, you're like, wow, that's really smart. And by the time I got to like tank number 12, I just turned around. I wanted to see if the fish were eating it. And I was reminded that frozen krill has a lot of oil. And so then I had about 10 tanks that needed a water change because there was a nice big film of oil and the water was all cloudy.
Slicks going on there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. So blackworms are really, really good, especially live blackworms. They're really cool because when you put them in, they form like this pile and they're all just sitting there in the pile doing this. And yeah, fish will eat those. Yeah, the frozen krill is good too. You got something?
That's it? Any other?
Yeah, nothing. Well, I don't do like an obscene amount of frozen food either, right? Because I do a lot of bloodworms. Frozen brine shrimp, I like that too. Not quite as many nutrients though.
Yeah.
Logan, what college did you attend? I attended a bunch of them. The last one that I attended was University of Florida, and that was where I did my Master's Cert in Aquaculture and Fish Health. Jace, I want to add a second female betta to my 30-gallon that has one female betta, honeygrami, neon tetras, koi cats, and all get along. Should I add the second betta? If it were me, I wouldn't. Just because, and we did the video on female sororities, and when I did that video, I had spent some time in the previous year talking to people who that's what they do. They're betta people. And the one tank that I shot was at Aquashella, And I spent a lot of time talking with them about female sororities and how they've had success. And generally speaking, both in their shop and when they do these events, they're really, really, really overstocking those female betta sorority tanks, just like you would for a cichlid, like a Mbuna tank. And they go as heavy as like 1 betta for every half gallon to a gallon. So they go pretty extreme. And they said, okay, that cuts down a lot on the aggression. A lot of times when you only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 bettas in a tank, sometimes they'll get along at least initially for a while, but as they get older and they start to be more assertive, it can be a real mess. Not always, but a lot of the time. I think that's where a lot of the failure comes in. So for me personally, I've tried it. I've gone the route of keeping as many as 4 or 5 in a tank, in different size tanks, anywhere from a 29 up to a 75, and it never worked. I always had to separate them. So if you do try it, and again, with just 2, I probably wouldn't. Just make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have a plan that you can move them around. Leo, thank you again for the super chat. Best frozen food for bettas and how much, or live food? We've done a lot of frozen food. So, I mean, you can do the live, you can do frozen brine, occasional frozen bloodworms. I don't try to load them up on those because sometimes they'll get a little bloaty if you give them too much. So a little bit of frozen bloodworms, frozen brine. I don't think we've done a whole lot with the bettas in terms of frozen food. For some reason, I've always kind of shied away from it just because, I don't know, I just tend to get a little bloated up. If anybody does like a lot of frozen foods with your bettas, feel free to chime in over there. Let me see. Upper Aquatics. So I started live streaming my fish tank, and I was wondering how to join the fish fam. Weird question, but I really like this community. So I don't know if there's like anything to join. I don't think, right?
Not really.
It's just hang out. Just hang out with everybody, and it's just a fun time.
Hop on different channels and
Let's see here. Shy. It's always so hard for me to say. Shy Savage Cichlids, but I did it. Jason, are you going to have any peacocks or haps available at the Greenwater Swap? No. I think the only cichlids I'm bringing are the Maltese. I think. It's posted on the website. So I did post what we're bringing on the website if you want to check it out, because people like to pre-order. And a lot of the fish are already sold out. But I thought the only things I was bringing were the Maltese. I've got some Mbuna that are holding that I really need to pull. The problem is I stopped pulling a lot of fry when everything shut down, and I haven't gotten back into it, so that's why. All right, let me see here. All right, everybody. What do you think? You think it's time? I think it's time. So, yeah, we're going to wrap it up a little bit. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody and all the super chats and the stickers, and you new members. Thank you so much. Dave, really appreciate you holding down the fort,
Dave.
And Oink Master and Lynn, who was here for a while. Thank you very much. You guys had a lot of really great questions. Congratulations to the winners. We're going to do the giveaways in the future too. Like I said, we got more stuff. So we will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. Hope you're there. Bring your questions, write them down, have them ready, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. We don't try to skip anything. We answer them as we see them. But thank you. Really appreciate it, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.